All right, we're going to talk about your barbell front squat grip or setup. And there's 3 grips that you can use depending on what you find to be the most comfortable. So your first grip is just the regular front squat grip, and that's going to be, you're going to put your fingers on there and you're going to loop underneath there. And those fingers are going to essentially, the bar is going to sit in those fingers and your elbows are going to be up really high here. Now you want that bar to sit up on top of your shoulders here on this ledge. If your arms are dropping down, then the weight's going to want to, or the bar is going to want to fall forward. So this is your knurling right here. It's called your knurling. For me personally, I go right up to that bar to find out, first off, I'm centered within that knurling, between those knurlings. And then I like my hands in right at shoulder width apart. So I'll take my grip here and I'll come underneath and I'll get that right up onto the front of my shoulders. And I get underneath that, elbows high, and drive up. And I haven't warmed up here, so my elbows are sitting a little bit lower, but you want those elbows high. So that bar is resting between your hands and the front of your shoulder, okay? A lot of people don't have the mobility, or it just feels really uncomfortable on the wrists and hands, and that's okay, so we have 2 other options. The next option is if you cross your hands here, and you just loop your thumbs over, you wanna be right in the center here, you can loop your fingers around and then your hands over, right on the center, and I'm getting that bar high and my elbows high, and now I have this cross-armed grip, and I can step back from there, and this is gonna be my front squat. This might feel a little bit wobbly. This is my preferred way of doing front squats now. So I'm just gripping the bar with my hands as my thumbs are looped under. And I'm keeping those elbows really, really high on that. And again, I want to be centered between these 2 knurlings on my setup, okay? And then the third one is, sometimes people use lifting straps, and I didn't have any lifting straps, so I just took a yoga strap and I cut it up, and it's probably about 2 feet long. But I'm just gonna loop that over, and there's a couple ways that you can loop it over. The first one is you can just grab it. So I'm gonna grab that strap as high between the bar as possible so that there's very little play here. And then boom, same position as my original front squat, except I'm saving my wrist, I'm saving my hands here, so I'm not getting this bent back position, but I am still getting my elbows up in that high position, so it gives you a little bit more mobility. Another way you could do this is you could wrap the strap around and then loop it in. The only thing here tricky is that you kind of got to use this hand and boom, this is just a little bit tighter grip and might feel a little bit better, but the point is that the straps help you add a little bit more mobility if you don't have it. So those are 3 different grips that you can test out, and just start out with the bar. The bar is fine to just get used to working those squats, and we'll talk about your front squat technique. All right, talking about your actual front squat itself and stance. So in terms of the stance, I'm looking for, it really depends on your mobility, but I'm looking for about shoulder width or slightly wider on that front squat position. Because you're holding weight out in front of you, you have more of a counterbalance, so your spine is going to be more upright versus if you had a back squat, you'd be more hinged, okay? So in terms of that, I look for about shoulder width apart, and you can have those toes slightly turned out, and you want to be doing the squat on your whole foot. So as I'm squatting, what I'm looking for is the knees are tracking over the toes. They're not collapsing in, and they're not rolling way out to the outside of your foot. So as I get my stance here, get my setup, I'm going to come to this cross-body stance. I'm going to get my hips underneath the weight. I'm all the way up on it, lift, and I'll step back enough so that you can see. Here's my stance. It's about shoulder width apart. And watch my knees. I'm going to pull myself down. My knees aren't going to collapse in, and they're not going to go way out here. They should be tracking over your toes. Turn my abs on. Okay, pull down into that squat. Spread the floor with your feet as you stand. From the side view, I'm going to take that squat stance, and you'll notice that my weight is evenly distributed across my feet. I'm not shifting into my heels. I'm not on my toes. Abs tight, turn them on. And I'll rotate back to this. Now when you're taking the bar off and putting it back on, especially when I'm putting it back on, I'm not worried about setting it down. If you have it set up low enough or not too high, you should be able to just walk it forward into the rack and bring it down for the safest possible